Hello and welcome. You're watching Big Picture with me, Vishal Dahiya, and today we're going to talk about the issue of education for emerging challenges. In fact, recently, Prime Minister held a detailed discussion with the heads of centrally funded technical institutions and stressed on the need for these higher education institutions, specifically the technical education institutions, to adapt to and focus on the emerging challenges and the changing environment and changing scope of things as well. So we'll today try and identify all those challenges which are being talked about, and how do we intend to go ahead and adapt our education model, specifically the higher education, higher technical education model, to tackle those challenges. And for more on this, we're joined by two distinguished experts. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with Professor M. Jagadesh Kumar, Vice Chancellor of Jawaharlal Nehru University. We also have with us Professor Subhasis Chaudhuri. He is the Director of IIT Bombay. Welcome, both of you gentlemen. Let me begin with you, Professor Chaudhuri, since you're also there in that interaction with the Prime Minister. What are the key focus areas when we are talking about, retuning or adapting our education system, or the focus of our technical education vis-a-vis the emerging challenges?
So thank you, Vishal. I think we had a very interesting and engaging, talk with the Honorable Prime Minister, where he actually, we put up what are the kind of things that we did, because despite, as you know, the nation is going through a big challenge. Why nation? The entire world, as a matter of fact, and we all are going through this difficult time. So how we are actually still trying to deliver at the highest level. That's one aspect that we try to, explain to the minister that this is what we're doing. And then coming from him, some of the challenges that we need to further take it up, okay? Because we are some of the well-known higher education institutions in India, and we have to make sure that we do that properly. So few things that are, of course, is basically the quality, the access, okay, and the equality that we have to take it to all. And then basically, it is like in India, is full of a lot of younger people compared to many of the other Western and other countries. So the question is that, can you use this kind of the power of youth by leveraging them with the proper education, so that actually we can unleash the strength of that is buried in terms of all our younger people. So that's also one of the key highlights that the Prime Minister put it up. And of course, then we are also advised to see that what could be the short-term and the long-term goals. Because see, what happened is that, finally we have to do a focusing, and we have a challenging time ahead. So can you have like a short-term 2-3-year goal by which we can achieve certain deliverables? And of course, then can you have a little longish? Let's say by the time we achieve, like, let's say 100 years of our independence. So what all we can do, where we would like India to be at that point, particularly in the vertical of education. I think these are the things that we did discuss.
Okay. We'll talk about all of these aspects one by one, but let me first bring in Professor Jagadesh Kumar here as well. Professor Kumar, from your perspective, sir, if we have to understand the importance of adapting, the higher education to the emerging challenges, what are we looking at here? Because there seems to be a lot of areas which need to be focused upon. Research and development obviously is one of them, being flexible about it, and technology keeps on changing every day.
Right. You're absolutely right. If you look at the bigger picture in our country, we have 106 centrally funded technical institutions, right? We have 23 IITs and 31 NIITs and 25 triple IITs. Now, if you look at the whole country, we have more than 1,000 universities, more than 42,000 colleges, and another 11,000 standalone institutions. Now, we are talking about these 106 centrally funded technical institutes across the landscape of our country. And these institutes also get the lion's share of funding. And that is the reason why when the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, spoke to the heads of these institutions, emphasized on the need to be, accountable, on the need to look at the current as well as the future challenges that our country is facing and will face. And remember that some of the brightest students, when I said India has so many educational institutes, you have nearly 38.5 million students across these institutes. But only a small percentage of them, some of the brightest of the students across our country come and join in these institutes. Therefore, it is our responsibility as educational institutes, technical educational institutes, that we provide outstanding education and skills to these students and motivate them to become outstanding creative thinkers and innovators and entrepreneurs. And it is only these people, when they come out of our institutes, when they establish startup companies, when they develop new technologies, it is only then that we can meet the requirements of our country. Because today we have COVID-19, tomorrow we don't know what else will come. The future is uncertain, not only from health point of view, but from several other points of view. For example, the food security, the national security, the climate change, the energy security for our country. So there are a lot of demanding challenges in front of us. And if we want to become a leading country, as a technologically advanced country, I think there is a greater need for our technical institutes to adapt and change themselves to meet the challenges that our country is facing currently and also in future.
Okay. Indeed, there are new challenges emerging every day, and adapting according to those challenges to try and find solutions to them is the key here. And Professor Chaudhuri, you were earlier talking about how there's a need to have an affordable quality education vis-a-vis from the perspective of those who are learning it, that is our youth, and also the challenges which we are facing. Now, what we need to understand here is, since you're heading one of those, renowned technological institutions, what exactly is being done at the institution level to respond to these challenges and to come at terms to ensure the affordable and quality education there?
So, if you look at the IIT system, okay, we, compared to what just my friend Jagadesh just mentioned, India is a huge country, okay, and the kind of the students that we do, is the total number is almost minuscule in terms of total number of graduates that India produces. Okay. Now, so what we have to doing at IIT Bombay, we may be able to provide the best kind of education because, we have certain kind of special facilities. We are a lot more endowed than many of the, let's say, universities and colleges that we have all across. And we also get excellent faculty members. And then, of course, the TU is extremely competitive. So we get the top quality students. So this kind of quality of education that we provide may not be that crucial in some of the IITs and NIT system. But to take the entire nation forward, and if you look at the NEP 2020, that's what one of the goals that we have, is that it's not just the IIT. We may be looking at the vertical top point of the pyramid, but there's a huge, the base. So the question is that, can we actually take the entire mass of people, okay, and then we give them much better education by leveraging, okay, the kind of scale that we can provide, because, they may be at different places, the kind of faculty members they get, the kind of opportunities. Certain technical education requires a lot of facilitated laboratory facilities, which may not be there in certain places. So proper sharing of them. So there have been already some efforts by, the ministry that can you share, what are some of the most expensive and other kind of equipment that the nation has over across various government funded institutions, so they can be shared. And similarly, if you look at the quality of education, most of the IIT professors, they have actually come up, okay, with the, NPTEL and many other SHIAM and other kind of portals where they are offering this kind of courses, okay. So this should, but realize that this is not the teaching part, because this is always an additional material, because the student can actually look it up, okay, as somebody. But finally, they have to be mentored locally by their own teachers, okay. And we need to create, when we talk about the quality of education, so that quality of the education has to come down from the top to the bottom level, so that everybody gets a fairly good quality education, so that there is a level playing field for all our graduating students, so that they can together excel. I think that's the key challenge, I would say.
Okay. Professor Kumar, do you agree there that it's not just about the top institutes, the cream, when we talk about the technological education, but every institute there which is imparting technological education will have to come at par there in terms of infrastructural capability as well as the learning which is being given to the students there.
No, Subhasis has captured it very well. Let me add to what he has said. During the discussion, when the Honorable Prime Minister was talking to the heads of these institutes, he very clearly said that these institutions have to reinvent and reevaluate themselves, and they need to develop alternative and innovative models according to the country and societal needs, not only in the present, but also in the future. Now, I think as the top institutes of our country, we should not be focusing only on training our students in these institutes only as engineers and scientists. I think we need to train them to be leaders in the society, leaders in their particular domains. So that is what I understand when the Prime Minister said we need to reinvent and re-evaluate themselves. And for too long, what has happened is that these institutes have remained as islands of excellence. But now we need to look at alternative ways of looking at our own institutes. We need to reach out to some of the other institutes, other universities in the country, have collaboration and joint working with them, so that the standard of both teaching and learning processes and also the research that takes place in these universities is improved. And that is something I think we need to do. And another thing that has happened, the reason why we need to reinvent ourselves is that the higher educational institutes, especially these CFTIs, have become highly heterogeneous, meaning that we have students who come from cities who have never seen a village, and we have students who come from the rural backgrounds, we have students who come to our institutes who have studied only in an Indian language up to their +2 standard, and we have students who come from some of these city-based private schools. So you have a lot of heterogeneity in our student input. So when you put these students coming from diverse backgrounds, this is one of the greatest opportunities for us, because when you keep diverse minds together, a lot of innovative thinking comes, a lot of creative thinking comes. So I think we need to look within ourselves to see whether we have harnessed this diversity of our student input in order to mentor them to be leaders in the domains in which they will work.
Indeed.
This is something that we need to do immediately in our institutes.
Okay, indeed, that is one of the key focus areas there, as well as you're pointing out, Professor Kumar. One more interesting aspect and an important one there as well is, providing a technological education in regional languages, in Indian languages. So, Professor Chaudhuri, where do we stand on that aspect, and then how feasible, how easy, or how difficult is that to happen?
Okay, so maybe we could go one step back. Okay, so this is a very interesting discussion. It has been there all the time, right? See, I myself grew up, okay, and I have never heard even somebody speaking, in purely Bengali language in a small place. Never heard anybody speaking English. Okay. Now the question is that, so if we came from there, okay. Now today we are talking about this, just like what Jagdish said, that is a diverse group of people in this kind of places like IITs and NITs. Now the question is that, when somebody, see, what is our purpose? We prepare our education, our students, not for today. Remember, okay? It is for tomorrow, okay? Of course, you have to realize if you survive today, then only you can think of living for tomorrow, okay? So we have to, the college, schools, all of them, your lifetime is 4 years, but the person will be working for 40 years or something, the career ahead. So when you play as an individual, it's a common thing. You play to your strength and you try to improve your weakness, right? So that you can actually do it in a global, kind of a competitiveness, because the world has become, has shrunk today, particularly in the digital way. So we have to make sure that no student, no matter where they come from, okay, some of them, they may be very good in the English or whatever other language, some of them are not, okay. But idea is that we should be able to get all of them by the time they graduate. They should be equally proficient, not only on the technical aspect, but also on the skills of communications, because you have to be there. Okay. So we must provide the kind of engagement to them as they go up. As Jagdish says, that somebody comes from a village, never had any exposure, like I did not have any exposure to English. Okay. So we learn during that time. So that could be a slow-paced one. Okay. But at the same time, you provide certain material, other things, so that the person can pick up. Because finally, see, I have to realize that if I talk here in Bengali, I cannot make a communication with Jagdish. Okay. So India is a nation of diversity. And it's the unity in the diversity is the greatest thing. The diversity is what makes us flourish. So while we should use our mother tongue, because that's the best thing in our thing, but at the same time, we should prepare ourselves for a much larger playing field. Okay. So what is that is what the Honorable, the PM also said, that we have to look at the logistics of saying that onboarding of all sections of the students who come from diverse background, make sure things are available so that they can improve, make it available. And finally, we don't want anybody to lose out during the process. And that should be our key goal. Okay, I think that would be. So that's what we are looking at it. All of us, we are discussing on how to do it. Let's say, for example, I would say in IIT Bombay itself, we actually hire, some of the top experts in English language and ask our students, that those who have a difficulty, please go through them separately. Okay. So that you improve, because finally you have to live in a highly inhomogeneous society, so that there is a mode of exchange of communication. Right? So that's the key spirit on which we should be moving forward.
Indeed, that is the spirit there. But Professor Kumar, your views there on this idea of imparting technological education in regional languages, in other Indian languages as well, the feasibility and where do we stand right now?
See, if you look at what the Honorable Prime Minister has said carefully, he said we need to develop an ecosystem of technological education in Indian languages. That is what he said. So now, if you look at our Indian population, perhaps only less than 10% of Indians actually can converse in English. More than 90% of the Indians, they use their Indian language spoken in that particular region.
Mother tongue.
And they work, yes, they work in those regions. Very few people actually migrate from state to state in India. Maybe about 5% of Indians actually migrate from one state to the other state. Nearly 95% of the population, they stay in their respective places and work. That is point one. Point two, when we talk about education in Indian languages, we often, tend to think that we want to neglect English. No, not at all. And English we can always use as a communication tool, and everybody has to learn that if you want to connect with the rest of the world. There is no doubt about that. But however, if you look at the cognitive science research that has been done on using the mother tongue right from childhood to higher education, the research very clearly shows that if a child is educated in mother tongue and it continues to even to the higher levels, they are much more creative as compared to those who are forced to study in a language which is not their own mother tongue.
Okay.
And there is a clear research evidence about that. And that is the reason why I think there is a greater emphasis on national education policy about importing the education in the Indian languages.
Indeed.
That is second point. Let me now tell you the third point. When we are talking about technological education in Indian languages, we are not saying that overnight in all IITs we will offer in one of the Indian languages. Why not we see the other way? There are thousands and thousands of students who study in their local regions, in their villages and towns. Now, using technology, can we reach out to those students in Indian languages? For example, you don't have to offer a full-fledged 4-year engineering degree to them. But however, you can offer certificate programs, you can offer diploma programs in some of the emerging areas such as machine learning, software engineering, computer science, which do not really require the kind of labs that you require in a chemical engineering lab or in a mechanical engineering lab. So if you can teach them in their mother tongue, and if they can acquire these kind of skills, you see they can then be employed in the local companies. It could be a software company, it could be some other company which requires these skills.
Okay.
So that is why I said that when we talk about these top of the pyramid institutes, there is a need for them to come out of these islands of isolation and reach out to the rest of the country using technology.
Okay.
And this is the greatest opportunity for us because our entire attitude towards digital education has changed thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Indeed. Indeed, a lot of things have changed because of the pandemic, and that is why we're talking about innovation, we're talking about adaptation and, responding to the emerging challenges there as well. Quick concluding question from you, Professor Chaudhuri, before we bring this to an end. And I'm asking you this because you're heading one of the topmost technological institutions in the country. The question is that what exactly do you or institutions like IIT need from the government in terms of policy tweaks to ensure that we respond to these emerging challenges which the Prime Minister was talking about?
I think it's a very, difficult to answer in a single kind of a very quick way because, see, there are challenges, okay? So when we actually, let's say some of these research that that if you do, not everything can be done in a very cheap and simple way. The equipment costs are nowadays are very, very expensive, and you have to pay at the same thing that, like, let's say, good US school pays. So when you have to compete at that level, as a research level, okay, and you want to provide an ambience to our student, which is like a global one, so it requires a proper infrastructure. So this infrastructure right now, these all IITs are 60 years old, most of them. And things are falling apart. In some sense, it needs a lot of refurbishing, new things to be created. And even some cases, maybe we need even other bigger campus to grow.
Indeed.
Because see, nowadays under NEP, we are required to have a lot of interdisciplinarity, a lot of other things, right? So we need that kind of patronage. We do receive a lot of patronage from the ministry, thankfully. And we hopefully to continue to get it. So that, basically the needs of the thing are changes. So we have to tweak to basically position ourselves to be one of the topmost places that we can compete with the best institutions in the world. And I think that's what we are looking at.
Okay. So there it is. Thank you so much, Professor Chaudhuri and Professor Jagadesh Kumar, for sharing your views and insights on this very, very important aspect which we were discussing the last 25 minutes. That is ensuring that the education we impart to our students adapts to respond to the emerging challenges, and specifically the technological education we're talking about, focusing on innovation, research and development, and adapting to what exactly is required in sectors, core sectors of significance, be it agriculture, be it science, or several other sectors as well. We'll come back again with a different topic. Till then, keep watching. Thank you.